This is a really glossy phone. Look at that. It's basically a mirror. This is Oppo's newest flagship release yet, the Find X3 Pro, and I've been using it for a few weeks now. Here's the thing, living in America, they don't sell these phones here, so when I got the opportunity to test out the newest smartphones late last year, I gave them a shot. I reviewed their budget device called the Reno 4 Pro, and I honestly really enjoyed using it. So I wanted to try out more Oppo phones, especially their high-tier flagships. Fast forward to now, and this is my first time actually reviewing a high-end Oppo device. Well, technically I tried out last year's Find X2 Pro, but I never actually got to test it out thoroughly. So I'm still pretty much new to the playing field, which is a good thing for you guys since you'll get a fresh mindset on whether or not you should purchase the Find X3 Pro. Now, 4 things stood out to me: the design, performance, display, and cameras. Of course, it has other amazing features such as a 65-watt charging speed, fast wireless charging, and reverse, and it even comes with a charger in the box. I seriously can't believe I need to mention that. But if I were to sell this phone, I would focus on those 4 things: the design, performance, display, and cameras. Now, the phone doesn't have an innovative design, but it still has a premium look. With almost every phone nowadays having that squarish camera module on the back, the Find X3 Pro followed suit, pretty much mirroring the iPhone, but I gotta say they did a much better job at making the back look seamless and making the module fit in well with the design. Everything is covered in a sheet of glossy black glass, even the camera module, which still protrudes a bit, but I honestly really like how it looks. The chrome look is futuristic and eye-catching, and it honestly reminds me of that evil robot from Terminator 2, or that one SpongeBob episode. The continuous curve also makes the phone extremely comfortable to hold. It's a lot lighter and thinner than its predecessor. The buttons are also extraordinarily tactile and have perfect placement, so I didn't have too many problems holding this device. I guess the only complaints that I have are that the phone gets dirty easily and it can get a bit tough to use with one hand. First off, that glass back is super prone to fingerprints and oily smudges. I usually end up cleaning it with my shirt, or if it's really dirty, I'll just put it under the sink since it's water resistant. Luckily, if you'd rather just avoid any fingerprints at all, Oppo also released a blue model with a frost matte finish, providing an anti-fingerprint back. But if you get the black model and never use a case, good luck. Secondly, with the screen being 6.7 inches, it's not an easy phone to hold. To put it in perspective, it's almost the same size as the Galaxy S21 Ultra, one of the biggest phones I've ever used this year. Plus, the ColorOS software doesn't do a good job of making the interface more comfortable to use with one hand, unlike One UI does. Either way, I still enjoyed the looks of the phone, and even though it's nothing exciting, it's still premium in hand. I also really enjoyed the speed of the phone. As of now, it's one of the most powerful flagships that you can get alongside the Galaxy S21 Ultra. The specs pretty much speak for themselves. It has the latest Qualcomm chipset, 12GB of RAM, UFS 3.1, 120Hz display, and dual mode 5G. Everything you'd want in a 2021 flagship. In real-world use, doing simple tasks like opening apps, navigating through them, or switching between them felt like a breeze. The phone rarely ever stuttered, and the super smooth 120Hz display made navigating throughout the UI look like eye candy. Even playing games with the Adreno 660 and 120Hz display almost felt like I was cheating since barely any other players had a device of this speed. The phone also unlocked very fast with whatever biometric unlocking method I used, whether it be the fingerprint sensor or face unlock. I was always blown away. It literally unlocks just as fast as the OnePlus 8T, which has one of the fastest unlocking methods on the market. I would have liked the fingerprint sensor to be a bit higher on the screen, and maybe the face unlock feature isn't the most secure option since it is using the front camera to look at your face instead of using a 3D Face ID sensor, but it's good enough. Overall, it's definitely the fastest phone that I've ever used yet. It's even a tiny bit faster than the S21 Ultra. Another aspect that stood out to me was the display. It's gorgeous. Just like before, it's 6.7 inches, has a refresh rate of 120Hz, it's Quad HD Plus, AMOLED, and it's LTPO so that it scales down for power savings. Everything you'd want for the perfect content consuming experience, but the icing on the cake is that the color accuracy on this phone is next level since it's the only Android phone to support the full DCI-P3 wide color gamut, and it can capture, store, and display full path 10-bit color content for a more accurate color reproduction. Okay, so in English, that just means that this phone has the most color accurate display on the market. It's a perfect option for anyone who's into photography or videography. On that note, let's talk about the cameras. On paper, they haven't changed that much from last year's predecessor. Here are the side-by-side specs. On the back, it still comes with the basic trio. You have a main lens, an ultra-wide, and a telephoto with 5x hybrid optical zoom. However, they did throw in an extra 3-megapixel micro lens which has a circular ring light so that you can examine objects microscopically that are invisible to the naked eye. You can get a magnification at up to 6DX. Now that's pretty sick. I mean, just check out how close I got to this leaf. It literally looks like ramen noodles. And the selfie shooter is still the same exact module found on the X2 Pro. Still, the quality of the photos taken on the X3 Pro instantly caught my attention. In any type of lighting, no matter if it was bright or extremely dark, for the most part, it did a fantastic job of providing accurate colors, lots of detail, excellent sharpening, the exposure was on point, and the shadows and highlights were maintained really well. Only with low light shots would the contrast and saturation drastically increase, but it still did an excellent job of eliminating any noise without over smoothing and providing fantastic detail. It even provided better detailed night shots than the Pixel's nighttime mode. The colors and shadows aren't as accurate, but I still prefer the low light shots taken on the Find X3 Pro over the Pixels. On top of that, the phone did an amazing job with portrait shots, providing realistic bokeh effects, even with complex elements such as a subject's hair. And there's even a new photo editing tool that only the Find X3 Pro has as of now, which I thought was pretty cool. It's called AI Palettes, and it allows you to create a unique filter inspired by any previous picture that you took or downloaded. It didn't always work the way I wanted it to, and it's probably not a feature that you'll use too often, but I'm sure it'll come in handy once in a blue moon. Finally, video recording on the X3 Pro was fantastic. It had great stabilization, pleasant colors, and a very accurate white balance. Oppo even developed a feature called AI Highlight Video, which automatically detects the current scene and determines whether to turn on HDR, night mode, audio zoom, or ultra steady stabilization so that you won't have to. It just provides a more effortless video recording experience for the average Joe. Overall, I'm very delighted with the camera quality found in the Find X3 Pro. It's a pleasure to shoot on, and it's also one of the best nighttime shooters that I've used yet. I also really enjoyed using the software on the Find X3 Pro. It may not be my top software choice, that would probably go to the Pixel software, but I was still impressed by some of the exclusive software features. ColorOS 11.2 provides a very similar interface to that of stock Android. It just looks like it has a skin on top of it. It's not the prettiest skin, but if you're coming from a Google Pixel or OnePlus device, you'll probably get used to the interface quickly. On top of that, ColorOS has a ton of software features that really astonished me. The new live wallpapers were drop dead gorgeous. Whenever I unlocked my phone, it felt like I was watching a live art show. I was also really impressed by the home screen. Unlike other stock launchers, ColorOS is very customizable. It supports icon packs, a customizable layout, transition effects, and more. Actually, check this feature out. Whenever I want to change the icon pack or grid layout, it gives me a live preview of the home screen, so I know exactly what I'm changing. That's pretty sick. I wish other stock launchers would copy this feature. You also have Oppo Relax 2.0 to play extremely relaxing sounds that help you focus on whatever task you're working on or relieve some stress. And what's even cooler is that you can listen to actual environments of different cities, making it seem like you're there. Their always on display is very customizable. It's on par with Samsung's One UI software. You can add custom patterns, custom text, images, analog or digital clocks, and have it be scheduled. There are also many unique tools that I haven't seen before on any other Android software. For example, you have a customizable dark mode where you can choose between different shades of black, just in case you prefer something lighter. For privacy, if you're constantly allowing someone to use your phone and you don't want them to see your data, you can use System Cloner to basically create 2 other accounts on your phone. In other words, you know how Windows 10 allows you to have multiple accounts and you need to sign into one to see the data within it? Well, System Cloner pretty much does the same thing. There's also a new way to calibrate the screen for anyone who is colorblind. The test has you order a few colored hues, and based on the order you chose, it'll create a custom screen calibration that's right for you. The software also has a spectacular gaming mode called Game Space. I used to think Oxygen OS had the best gaming mode, but after seeing what this can do, I changed my mind. For example, they allow you to adjust the touch and swipe sensitivity, the in-game menu is a lot more intuitive, and a feature called Game Focus Mode quickly turns off any possible distractions. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Honestly, I can make a whole separate video on the many unique features found within ColorOS. I actually did make one for ColorOS 11 a while back, so click the eye in the top right corner after watching this video to see how sick this interface is. The only thing I will say is that scrolling within ColorOS doesn't feel as intuitive as other Android softwares. For example, whenever I swipe up or down within the app drawer, it feels like it stops a bit short, only showing me a few of my apps. Just like last year, the X3 Pro still comes with a charging brick. Thank God, and it still charges at a speed of 65 watts, so you can literally top it off at just around 38 minutes. It's mind-boggling. And you know what's interesting? Having a phone that charges this fast meant that I barely even paid attention to the battery life. Since I'm constantly home, whenever the phone became halfway dead, I just plugged it in for 10 minutes and it juiced it up an extra 40%. It's insane. Whenever I had to leave the house, the battery results brought me back to reality though. Even though it has a bigger capacity than its predecessor, with mediocre use, such as messaging, emails, social media, etc., I saw an average screen time of around 5 hours. It's not bad, but it's not great. I also enjoy charging the phone wirelessly at up to 30 watts, and it was nice to have reverse wireless charging at up to 10 watts to be able to juice up my Galaxy Buds Pro. I can't believe it took Oppo this long though just to include wireless charging in their top of the line flagship series. Now the main question you probably have after hearing my thoughts is, should you pre-order the Oppo Find X3 Pro? Well, for starters, it's not a cheap phone. At least I'm pretty sure it's not going to be. Since I'm recording this before the phone has actually gotten announced, I'm not 100% sure what the official retail prices are yet, but if history repeats itself, it should easily cost around $1,200 or more, similar to that of the Galaxy S21 Ultra. So with that in mind, I do think it's worth it for someone who's coming from a 3 to 4 year old smartphone, since they're most likely looking for something juicy to sink their teeth into, or for anyone who just wants the latest and greatest and has extra money lying around. But for anyone who has a 1 to 2 year old flagship device, I would wait for the next one for 2 reasons. First off, you'll most likely have a similar experience, since every year the difference in upgrades between most higher end flagships is becoming a lot more minimal. For example, when comparing the changes made to the Find X3 Pro with its predecessor, the Find X2 Pro, they really only made 2 significant changes that the average consumer would genuinely care about or even notice: the support for wireless charging, reverse wireless charging, and the micro lens. Everything else is still awesome improvements, but minor ones. The new design looks sick, but let's be honest, the majority of you are probably going to slap a $15 case on it. The screen is also slightly brighter and more color accurate, but unless you make a side-by-side comparison with another high-end flagship, you probably won't notice it in your day-to-day use. It has an increased battery capacity of just 2400 milliamp hours, a bump in megapixels to the main lens and ultra-wide, and a new processor which does make the phone feel extremely fast, but these days even budget phones are performing very similarly to these higher end flagships. Of course, they're not as fast, but they're only a few seconds behind when doing simple tasks like opening apps. That's why I don't necessarily think the Find X3 Pro will be worth the possible price tag that it's going to get. Don't get me wrong, it'll still provide you with a fantastic experience, but all I'm saying is it's a hard sell. Either way, that's my review of the Oppo Find X3 Pro. Let me know in the comments what you think about this phone, and if you plan on picking it up for yourself. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Also, it would mean the world to me if you could drop a thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed it, and maybe also get subscribed with the notification bell turned on. I make videos just like this every week. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Kapow!